Hey everyone, it's Catherine. So I'm going to try a little experiment, but you know how YouTubers are. Who knows, it may change with the next video. Just like I said, New Year's, I won't do any new content, and then it ended up being all new content. So who knows? But I am going to try a little experiment. Well, I have an idea, so we will see if it happens. We will see. But I'm thinking some things are changing in my life, and I'm thinking of maybe just filming things for you and trying to film things for you more often and more on the fly, and then just not doing like the fancy thumbnails or anything like that, because those do take a lot of time. Like graphic design takes time, especially for me, because I do them from bed. Like I get up for this and then I like I talk until I fall, and then I fall down, and then all my editing and stuff I have to do in bed with like pins, because I'm pinned down. Like I think of it as like a thumbtack. Like I feel like a bug that's on one of those you know, that has a pin right through them. I have a pin like right through my lower vertebrae or something. So the CRFA really has helped with the SI joint. And I'm like, okay, that's great. Like, and the inflammation's going away and everything like that. And so now I'm just kind of spinning around the bed with this pin like down in this lower vertebrae. And I'm like, well, at least we have a spot. So we have some place we can, like down in the lower, I don't know, pelvic. There's this place, and I just spin around that. I can't actually get up off the bed. So that's really hard to edit from there or whatever. So, so graphic design and stuff like that takes time. So I'm going to try and do things just a little differently to try and get content up for you. And so it might not be as fancy, it might not be as clean, but you will have content. I'm going to try that and try uploading more often. We'll see how that goes. Try and tape something every night and then just upload it overnight, because it takes a long time. And then we'll see if it means that I might not be wearing makeup all the time, like, because that is really tough for me to do. Like putting on makeup is so hard for me to do, because it requires me to be able to sit up, and it takes so long for me. So I might not always be able to wear makeup in order to do the videos for you, but I'm going to try. So anyway, enough of that. So before I get started on what I was going to talk to you guys about today, I've been dying to tell you guys about this for forever. So for those of you who are sick and you're looking and you're like, oh my gosh, she looks like she's doing so well. I have what's called Health in a Bottle. I call certain makeup products Health in a Bottle, and that's another like booklet or book I want to write up for you guys, hopefully at some point. And talking about the makeup products that are Health in a Bottle. And one of those, I'll give you an example, is this guy. This is just a MAC cream base, I think. Let me turn this on. I'm gonna look straight. Maybe I won't turn it on. It's called Pink Shock, and it's just cream color base. So I could have just held this up like a real beauty pro, but I'm not a real beauty pro, so that's why I'm not used to it. So if you can see that right there, is it focusing? No. Oh well, but it's called Pink Shock. So Pink Shock, and it just, all I do is I, dab in my stipple brush and I just put it straight on my cheeks, because I do what Bobbi Brown does. I love her books, and I saw this one book, it's this one movie called, Is It As Good As It Not As Good As It Gets? It's called Something's Gotta Give. And in the beginning, I swear to God, I don't know if she did it, but in the beginning of that movie, Something's Gotta Give, they have all these young girls. It talks about women in their bloom when they're walking around. I really highly recommend you see it, because the makeup on those girls when they walk around, like that makeup, that makeup is timeless. And I highly recommend, when I talk about makeup, I am aiming for makeup like that. And I swear that she did the makeup, or if she didn't do the makeup for that movie, then I swear that she trained whoever did the makeup for that movie. The makeup on the young woman in that opening, in that whole opening monologue that Jack Nicholson gives, is just, it's stunning. And she teaches blush differently than anyone teaches blush that I know of. But as you notice, like, it just, like, it makes you look healthy, and she puts blush where we actually blush. And I don't do this like streak that goes up the side of the face so that it looks like you have this band of blush. I don't do that. I don't do that at all. And I learned that from her. I learned that from her books. And so I just put it right here, and it makes you look healthy. And then on top of learning it with this guy, I do have a powder blush underneath, and yeah, I use cream. I think cream is amazing, and I put it on top of powder. I had powder on here and I put it on top. So all these rules that people have, it goes out the window when it comes to your skin. There are so many rules. They say rules are made to be broken. I have to tell you, like, you have got to experiment with your skin, especially if you're sick, or especially if you have finicky skin, which all of us do because of how much crap we put on our bodies, whether we're on medication. And if you're not on medication, like for example, for me, like, I don't get to put a lot of crap in my body food-wise because I'm on such a strict diet, right? But when you're not on a strict diet, then you're eating all the processed foods out there. And then that is a ton of junk. Like, it's not like it used to be. Like, you watch people, like, if you watch MC Hammer's video, when he has this video, Hammer Time, I don't remember what the song of it is, and you see the people dancing in there. They would kick any dancer's butt today. I watch them, and I'm like, if that isn't a testimony to how food is different today, I mean, the difference is the food. The difference is the way food is made. And there's all these campaigns saying food isn't made differently. It's made differently. And it's tough. It's really tough to try and find food that isn't made differently. That's a rough thing. It's a challenge I'm going to have to go through when we get off the diet. So now on to the thing that I wanted to talk to you guys today about. So it's going to sound really weird, and but it's part of the thing that I talked about in Insider Movies 10. I said that I was going to try and talk about some stuff that I'm scared to talk about. You guys are like, are you scared? I don't think you get scared. Yeah, I get scared. I get scared because on Twitter I realize the reason why, and the reason why is because I am an analyst. I didn't realize this, but I do analyze things. I remember how I said, like, when I got sick, I just started studying, like I went back to school. No, like I just research and I gather information, which is what a lot of you guys do. A lot of you guys on YouTube and YouTube videos, that's what we do. When we are internet junkies, we sit there and we analyze information. That's what we are really, really good at. A lot of political things. I have been seeing some amazing things that have been figured out because people are able to analyze videos and analyze information extremely well. It's phenomenal, the kind of analytical minds that are out there. And I think it's interesting. No one thinks of it as an academic skill because no one demands it anymore in the schools. But honestly, analytical thinking is the highest level. There's a chart of like, what are the levels of thinking? And analytical critical thinking is at the very highest level of the chart. And if you're thinking at a critical level of thinking, then you're at the top of the chart. And that higher level of thinking, oh my gosh, it's so precious. It's such a hard thing to find. And companies want that. They want it so badly. If you can think critically. And YouTubers do that. Like, YouTubers do it, and people who parse information and see through things and gather it and put it all together. Even conspiracy theorists are able to parse a lot of information. And the difference there is parsing the information, knowing if it's a credible source or not. That is the very difference of whether or not they believe if they're able to analyze whether or not the source is credible or not. Because a lot of people believe everything that they read on the internet, and that is part of analytical skill, is understanding that a lot of people are out there willing to lie on the internet, and then also that some people they are nuts out there. Not the conspiracy. There are conspiracy theories that are correct. There are some of them that are correct. They're so wild that no one thinks that they're correct, but there are some that actually are. There are some that will never, ever, ever be believed, but they exist. And the press could never write about them because they'll never be believed. And people have figured it out online. There are also some crazy things out there that are just as crazy that are totally untrue. They're totally debunked. But my point is that we have the analytical minds to think it through and figure it out. That's what's amazing. And it's such a high level skill that, that's what I've been doing, and I didn't really think about it that way. I just thought that this is what I do for fun, and this is what we all do for fun. And I don't think of it as analyzing or anything like that. I didn't think of it in that mindset. So anyway, so because I've been with some new doctors, and one in particular, like I said, they are the best. Like, I used to be, I swear, give credit where credit's due. I used to be this like ball that, like just was not able to uncurl in the morning, like uncurl at all in the morning. And, was not able to even like ever move upstairs. Like we used to have to be, on one story all the time because I couldn't even move up a stairway and at any point in time, in any given point in time. And that there is a doctor who definitely, you know, unfolded me per se. Like there's actually been an unfolding of this scrunched up body and an actual unfolding. And that has been a miracle, right? And with the unfolding and things like that has been, and they also gave me the tools I needed for the weight loss. Like they gave me an actual plan of something, a place I could go to for the weight loss. And those two things, and then when the whole SI thing happened, they were like on it. Like they were on it and they got me the help that I needed. And they've been like a miracle worker. Like they've fought for me when I asked for that help. And so because of that, I've been able to like do my YouTube channel because I've been unfolding and I've been able to take that job. Granted, it's only a few hours a week, but when you're in bed and laying on your side, you know, it is really hard to do that work. It's hard to do HTML coding when you're laying on your side, pinned with like a pin through your belly button, shoving you into the, shoving you into the ground. It's not easy. So anyway, but the thing is that my mind is clear. Like I said with Katherine Consulting, like I know I can do that. Like even if I'm pinned, my mind is more clear through the day, which it wasn't before. Like that is the biggest thing that's changed, is that my mind has been slowly like clearing up. Whereas before when I'm not able to move and I'm not doing well, the screaming of the screaming in pain, like it used to be 24/7. And it's eased back to like, I would say it's not the 4 hours a day. The screaming has widened up. There's this gap to like six to 8 hours a day of no screaming. It's tense. Like I have really big problems with my jaws, like, but there can be up to 8 hours of day where I'm not like, where, my husband isn't having to rush back to the house all the time to come help me. And that has allowed me to start thinking again. And that's really wonderful. And part of the reason I do the analyzing is because it distracts me from the pain. When I go into a seizure or when I go into extreme amounts of pain, and I am really like in that screaming mode, there are things that happen. What we do, like, if what happens is if I'm not in the bed or whatever, because if I move or whatever, that can really get me fast into pain. But you got to push through it. Like you got to push to the edge. And so that will really lead me into pain and things like that. So, and then I very quickly fall into this screaming thing of pain. And so when I go into it, what happens is my husband will throw like a computer in front of me and I will just start getting into it. Now, if I put something boring where it's just like in front of me, like sometimes I do Law and Order and Criminal Intent, and that's helpful. And that's like if I'm like seizing and stuff like that, that's good for my brain. But sometimes I need something that will really pull me out, like really pull me out. And those are things that capture my analytical mind. And so like the analytical side of me has kind of saved me from the pain. Like I can't watch Golden Girls all the time or something like that. I can't watch Criminal Intent all the time. That I've watched them all and everything like that. But there's also this part of me that's now moving into, I've watched everything. I need something else. And so I've started, going further and further and further into pulling things apart more and more. And as I've done that, my group, the group that you know about, that we talk about, things with, you know that I get together and we do insider movies and I pause and I talk to them about the movies. Well, I don't just do that with movies. I do that with everything. I do that with culture. I do that with news. I do that with everything. So when my husband comes home, we sit down and we basically have a briefing and I go through like all of it and, they love it. Like if I've had a good day, I'm like, oh, and I'll have like 12 tabs open and I'm like, we got to go through it. And like this past week is so bad that I have 3 computers with like, you know, a ton of tabs open and we haven't gone through any of them. But that's just the way and I know you guys can relate to me because you're the same way. You consume so much information. So why am I bringing all of that up? What does that have to do with any of this? What does that have to do with this video and all that kind of stuff? So what point am I getting at? Well, my point is that some people in my group have been really, really pushing me lately to really consider applying to DC. They've been really, really pushing me to apply to DC. And you're like, what do you mean DC? Like a politician? No, not a politician. Yeah, I do remember though, I remember I was pushed, like some people when they first got in the group, they're like, you really need to run for president. And I was like, I mean, I know a president was in a wheelchair once, but maybe you need a visit. Like, why don't you visit before? I mean, I just was like, take the compliment, honey. Like, take the compliment. It was just like, it was really sweet. But I was just like, you lost it. But I really tried to take that as a compliment. But I really respected their opinion, and that's hard to hear sometimes. But the thing is that some of them, the ones that I care about, they've really been pushing me to go into, when I say DC, I mean the intelligence side. And I know that that's going to trigger people. And that's why all I can say to that is, why is it triggering you? I mean, it's interesting. The Project Veritas stuff has really, really gotten to me. I gotta be honest. Like, it has really affected me. Like, I've had about 6 Twitter accounts since Twitter has been around, and I've been shadow banned on them all. And I made a strict rule to never talk about religion, never talk about politics, and never talk about money on all of those accounts. Like, I've been doing new stuff. And a lot of that is new stuff, partly because I'm just like, okay, like there's a nice thing that comes with anonymity. Like, anonymity has opened me up to saying new things. But the other stuff, like, I wasn't anonymous. And I was like, I'm not going to talk about any of that stuff. Those are the things, that's a politic thing to do. You're always going to get in trouble if you talk about religion, if you talk about politics, and if you talk about money. Don't talk about those things. Just don't talk about those things. So I didn't. But you know what was interesting is that I was thinking, like, why would they shadow ban me? Oh, okay. I have a doctor's call because I have... All right, sorry about that. I had to speak to the doctor on the phone and get a prescription. I have stuff going on. As usual, I always have stuff going on. Need a new prescription. So, fun. Okay, so what was I saying? So, yeah, so I was shadow banned on all of them, and I was trying to figure out after watching the Project Veritas video, and I thought it was interesting, like, he was saying, like, he said something really interesting. I watched his speech, and I don't normally enjoy their speeches or his speech, but this last speech that he gave, I actually really enjoyed it. I was like, this actually makes sense. All of it makes sense. I really like it. And he said this thing. He was like, I didn't say any of this stuff. I'm not making any claims. Like, they made all the claims. Like, we just went in there because people were seeing things on Twitter. Like, it was really interesting today. I went in to see if there were any politicians coming to a certain city. And they pulled up all the politicians that had visited that city in the last 5 years. And they were all of one party. They said they only listed one party's politicians. And by the way, they only listed 2 politicians from that party. And I bet you can guess what 2 politicians they were. That's all Twitter let me see, were 2 politicians from one party. And I was just like, wow. Like, I literally typed in campaign this city, campaign this city, this state. And it pulled up all these results, and it was just these 2 people. That's it. And I was just like, this is one of the most popular places to campaign. And both candidates always have to go there from both parties. And you're telling me that's it for all of these years. For 5 years, that's the only thing that came up in campaign are these 2 candidates from this one party that are only ever mentioned. And it's really terrifying to me. It's terrifying to me that free speech. There was a lawyer who said that in her training as being a lawyer that you have to protect the worst speech in order to protect free speech. And I remember learning that growing up, like that was just the bottom line. And that is not the case today. That is not the case today. It's scary what's going on out there. So when I say all that, I think about that. I was like, okay, wait, think about it. Like, okay, they're saying that you should think about the intelligence community. Okay, stop thinking about like what you were trained to think of today, like the intelligence community today. Like, why are you scared about it? I'm like, well, I'm scared about it because, you know, I'm scared of getting bullied and harassed for being part of it. And I was like, why are you bullied and harassed? And then the Project Veritas made me think of it. And I was like, okay, I might be trained that way. I might be trained that way because of the things that have been filtered in my feed. Because on my feed, I realized that the Twitter bar on the right side, you get only hashtags that are popular to the people you follow. Well, because I clearly like to analyze, I only follow certain leaders of certain groups. And so, because I want to follow culture and know what's going on in culture. And so, of course, those leaders are of this very specific party. So I'm only getting those hashtags. And then I try to widen it up, and the furthest it'll let you widen it up is a city. And then you only get that city. And then things are all over the place. And I'm like, that's it. You can never see a wider world. And I've noticed that on Twitter. You cannot get a truly wide world view. I've tried to find out when I have a friend hurting in another country and I know that something's wrong, something's gone seriously wrong. I try to look at what's going on in Twitter of that country and you will get zero results. I mean, it is bad. It is really, really locked down. So it's really, I am like, okay, so I am trained to think a certain way about the intelligence community. So let me think about like what it was when I was growing up. And I was like, oh, when I was growing up, it was like a really honorable thing. Only the best of the best went into like the FBI or the CIA. Like it was like only the best of the best went in there. You had to be really smart to go in there, really, really smart to go in there. And like they came and got you. Like, and if you got taken by them, man, like if you got recruited by them, it meant you were like, they took the nation's finest. And they never talked about what party you were. And you can tell that even now by when they talk about what the investigations are going on. You can clearly hear that there are members from both parties in, you know, all the organizations. But I really want to talk about that party system. I love you. I really want to talk about that idea of this is always a good time for him to go pick up medications when I'm talking. He's like, I know she's going to be good for this time. Like, go get the meds now. I'm like, good idea, honey, good idea. So that's why you always hear him coming in the background when I'm taping. He's getting my meds in it. So yeah, it's just one of those things where you never, they weren't thought of as like a party. We never used to think of what party are you. And I wish I could find, if you watch the very first episode of, the very first show that Johnny Depp was ever a part of, I nearly fell out of my chair because the way they talked politics in that show, it really showed me like how far we've come. And all I want to say about politics is, you know, like I'm middle of the road. And then I realized like it used to be common sense and understood. The reason why we never shoved people and never discussed being one side or the other is because it was just understood that 60% of Americans were middle of the road. 60% of America, most of America doesn't believe all of one party or one of the other. Parties have extreme views, like in general. So you've even seen, like I saw this one channel did an interview with like 9 women and they were asking them what they thought. And the women had such a variety of views. They talked about all these different, policies. They're like, this policy, this policy, this policy. And what was interesting is that not one of them stood exactly on a party line on any policy. And I was like, yeah, I'm not wrong about this. Like 60% of Americans, like we still are in the middle. Like we don't fully put our foot in one or the other. And then it was just understood that then 20% of us are on this side and then 20% of us are on this side. And that was just like, okay, you're full left or you're full right. And then that's where we are. And then so it was just kind of understood that that's where it is, which is why when you were like, you know, when you go into the CIA or FBI, it was just kind of like where you're just gonna, you know, fight for the country. And now I'm like, oh, fighting for the country is bad. When I saw that Project Veritas thing, I was like, they filter out the flag and they filter out the word America. And that's when I finally figured it out. I had not figured it out yet, that the words America or flag had been turned to mean alt-right. And I had not figured that out yet. Like I just had not figured that out yet. And I suddenly understood that really the where we're at now is that we are now expected that if we are not full, well, I guess in the camera or whatever, if we're not full, is this full left over here? If we're not full left, like extreme left, if we're not extreme left, then all of this, we're not moderate. We don't, have you heard the word moderate? Have you heard middle of the road? We're not moderate. We're not, you know, we're not middle of the road. We're not libertarian. We're not any of this kind of stuff. Like, it's been fascinating to watch libertarian channels. Like, they really are thinking, I love democracy. And I feel like, as I say that, like, I love democracy. I love freedom of speech. Like, I love discussion. And as I say all of those things, I'm like, I'm going to get banned. I'm going to get banned. I'm going to get banned. And I'm just like, you know, that was the setup. Like, that's why our country was formed, you guys. Our country was formed because people weren't being allowed to speak. Do you get that? Like, we were the first country that allowed freedom of speech. We were the first country that did that. And now it's not being allowed. Like, that's a big freaking deal. Like, that's why people were proud to be Americans, because we were the first ones to make free speech, and now free speech isn't allowed. Why is it that we have to be extreme this, and if we are not extreme, like, I will tell you, I'll leave the link below, but the thing that really got to me, like the thing that crushed me more than anything, is when I saw, like, Martin Luther King's nephew, who is my hero. I'm like, Martin Luther King's my hero. And he got on to the mainstream media, and he went off script just a hair, and they tore into Martin Luther King's nephew, turned on him and said, what's in it for you? Why are you capitalizing on Dr. King's name? And I was like, oh my God. Like, oh my God. Just because he wouldn't verbatim say what they wanted him to say. So when I say, like, I'm considering working for the intelligence community, I'm considering working instead of for private, because right now I work for Google. I work for Google and I work for Twitter. And I'm making them a hell of a lot of money. And they are stealing my privacy. Like, when you heard that guy said they want to make sure it's you, they do facial recognition. Remember Facebook did facial recognition a long time ago? And then he said they want to make sure it's you. They want confirmed. It's really, the money is when they confirm that it's you and the data is connected to you. That means your face. That's surveillance. And that's the whole point, is that when you go into that government, like, you have the power to change things like that. Like, you don't want a for-profit company doing that. Like, that's going back to the days, like, that really is going back to the days of serfdom, you guys. How is that any different from the feudal system? How is it any different from the feudal system? And so I really am like, you know what? I feel like we're in this, like, Robin Hood time. Like when we watch the Robin Hood cartoon from Disney, where they're just, like, knocking every little coin out of you. And I'm just like, that's not the government anymore. That's like Google, and that's like YouTube, and that's like, if you don't say what they want, they just come by and they take every dime from you, and they'll make every money off of you, and they will just squeeze you dry. And you guys know the makeup companies are doing it, all the for-profit, and that is why there's, anyway, I'm just getting into it. So my point is that I I feel like, I don't feel like, I know, I don't want to work for people that I know are corrupt. Like, I want to go to work for a place that at least the taxpayers are paying my wages. Does that make sense? At least I'm being, number one, paid. Not only that, but number two, I'm being paid by the people. And right there, I'm being paid by the people. And because of that, the people will have my back. That is why people are doing what they're doing in the intelligence community when they do one thing or the other, because they feel like they have people's back. And that's it. I mean, that's what our government is. Our government was created by the people. We do not have, there are some people doing bad things in the government, but also how is the government going to change unless we get into it? And so that is what, I know I'm sick, but I am going to fight like heck to get out of it. I'm going to fight like heck to get that pin off my freaking back. I'm going to fight like heck to get them to remove that pin from my spine and get out. Like my doctor said, she said, I had a girl come in a wheelchair and she came out walking, and you can bet I want to be one of those people. You can bet I want to be one. I hate that it's taking 3 years to do it. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's fair, but I plan on being one of those people. And then what do I do at that time? And my point is, here's the other thing. So I went on to, I'm considering it. Right now, I'm considering that in other fields in that area. I hate evil, and I want to, like, it's so funny how they rant and rave about the Russians, but they don't say, so sign up for the intelligence community to combat them. Notice they'll never say that. When did we, like, start hating America? Why is that? Why have we been telling people, why did America become so bad? Like, why? When I grew up, we were okay to be middle of the road, and middle of the road people like America, and they say if you're middle of the road that you're alt-right now, and I think that's terrible. And so it's like you're scared to say the word America because you're scared of being labeled alt-right, and I'm like, I'm not, and so I'm like, God, if I say I'm proud to be an American, I feel like I'm saying that I'm proud to be something that I'm not, and I'm like, I have to say exactly this verbatim thing, or else it's over. Like, or else I'll be attacked, which is why I'm scared. But then as I've been digging, I'm like, oh my gosh, there are people out there like me who are middle of the road. It's been really hard to find, because that's the other thing that I found, is that when they allow, like, other voices up, the only other voices they allow up are, like, these conservative voices up, or these other, I don't know which side I'm at now. They left only the conservative voices up that are also bullying and harassment and full of hate. And I'm like, where is someone who's calm and level-headed and treats people with civility? Like, I'm just like, can we just have a civil discussion? Like, can we just have a discussion and treat each other with civility? I mean, Dr. King did that. Like, we should be able to have a discussion and talk to each other. And that's why I love that video with Dr. King's nephew, because he did that. He tried to talk civilly. Like, I really wanted to talk to him, because I do feel like that. Like, I was able to go to a university, and I was able to feel comfortable being with I was a minority at my university, and I was never scared. I would be terrified. Now. And it's a very, very different place, because it's no longer an open discussion of free speech. It is now, if you are not towing the line, you're bullied and you're harassed. And bullying and harassment for your views, my point is, it's not just for views over here, it's views for here. There's a whole range of political views, you guys, and there's a whole range. And I think people are like, I think from what I've been listening to, I really think that the people who voted for the president, it's sounding like it was a whole range of people who voted for the president. But what's funny is I think a large range of that also voted for the previous president. That's because there's a huge middle of the road. That usually, that's who they're fighting for every election, isn't it? Like those, but they never acknowledge those people exist. They never acknowledge those people exist. Very few people fit in a tight box, and they should never demand that we fit in a tight box either. And that's the thing, is that the title America, I'm proud to be American, because to me, American means that we don't fit in tight boxes. We all look different. I like that. I like that. We were made because this country was made because there was an oppressive regime, and there were oppressive that said you have to be this way. And the founding fathers were really strict about, like, we've got to be able to say whatever it is we want to say. And we are not allowed to. People, they are banning books. I never thought I'd see banning books in my lifetime. Like, I'm old enough where, like, Nazi Germany still had an effect when I was young. Like, I was young enough where that overflow was still affecting me, and the Cold War still affected me. I was still in that wave. You guys don't realize how long the fear and terror of that lasted. So I still felt it, you know, I still felt the after effects like that. And also my people in my history, like, I was bullied and harassed for my ethnicity, because that's the ethnicity that was wiped out by Hitler. So I was, even growing up, that ethnicity, I still got nailed for it. But they were teaching us to go against that, and we grew out of it. And by the time I got to college, man, it was over. I can't believe we've gone back so far to the point where we're burning books. We're so narrow-minded that we determine everyone think not just like us, but just this one very narrow script. You kids, we're not all made the same way. We're not all made the same way. We're not all. Why can't we be middle of the road? Why is that evil? Why are you naming middle of the road alt-right? That's terrible. It's scary. Anyway, so I was talking about the intelligence thing. So my point is that when I looked into the intelligence community, it turned out I could see why they were begging me so hard. There are 1 million jobs available. 1 million jobs. There are 1 million jobs available in the intelligence community. And you know what? Let's all guess why that is. Let's all guess why no one wants to apply for the intelligence community. Maybe it's because the name America has been demonized. Maybe because working for America, going to work for America, doesn't fit in this tiny sliver. But to me, going to work for America means defending our right to freedom. It doesn't mean that you have to go in there and do bad things. You go in there and you report bad things. Nothing changes unless you go in there, you make change. That's why we join things. So I guess I'm saying, like, you guys are amazing analysts. You're amazing analysts. And if you believe the Russians are out there or whatever, why don't you join up? Because there are a ton of jobs out there. There's a ton of jobs. And you get to live in an amazing metropolis city. Beautiful, beautiful city with incredible history. And maybe you get to work from home. God knows that all need to work from home or whatever. And I kind of think their website is a test to get through or whatever. You have to pay attention to how to apply and things like that. But they have a ton of jobs. They have a ton of jobs. And I just have to say, like, think about that. Like, who does it benefit to make people feel like, to make young people feel like it is a bad thing to apply for the intelligence community? Who does it benefit to make people to give that rhetoric that America's negative? Who do you think is paying Twitter to ban the word America. I mean, we ended World War II. Like, we created the first Bill of Rights. God, we created the first civil rights movement. We have so much to be proud of. We survived a civil war and stood together. We didn't split up. I mean, obviously we have bad parts. Name me a country that doesn't. We have bad parts. But man, are the good parts freaking good, because we changed the cloth of humanity and civilization forever. And I think it's worth protecting. I do. And I'm saying that all of you have the skills to go to work. And if you think that it's awful, if you work there for a year and you're like, this is crap and you want out, get out. But hell, stop working for Google and YouTube and Twitter, because they're censoring you. And if I've learned anything from the intelligence community so far, that ain't what they do. They want you to grow. They really do. Because they love talent in their nation. They just don't think of it one way or the other. How are things ever going to change if people like us don't step up? How's Big Brother, how's censorship ever going to change if we just keep leaving it to Project Veritas? It's just an idea. I'm looking into it. But I thought, I know you guys are hurting for jobs, maybe not anymore, I don't know, but it's an idea. And if you don't agree with my political views of saying that all of this isn't alt-right, all of this is, right wing or something like that, then your skills are needed too. Like, that's the whole point. Like, you have the freedom to say what you're thinking. But don't do it with hate. I saw this terrifying campus discussion where this poor guy who had left a religion said that the only people he could talk to on a campus were Trump supporters. Because he said he didn't agree with them, but at least they'll listen to him and have a conversation. That's what America's about. We're supposed to all be able to listen and have a conversation. If we're not, then we're not a democracy. And we don't want free speech. And I have to say, like, that's not mature. Go back and look at history and see what every country was like that didn't have it. dangerous, dangerous message. Because you may be touting what they're saying because it makes you feel good, because you feel like you're with everybody else, like, yeah, I'm getting praised. I'm, joining the masses, but when they're filled with so much hate and venom, you guys, they'll turn on you. They'll turn on you. They'll turn you over. They'll turn you in. You'll never say it just right all the time. Someday you'll disagree, or you'll say it wrong, or you'll look wrong. And if hate is what they look for, and if they look to tear apart people, there will come a day. Well, you'll change your mind, or you'll say it wrong or something, and they will tear you to pieces. Just, you can think differently, but you gotta let other people think differently too. If you lean alt-left, if you're like all left, it should outrage you that people who are moderate to center or just even moderate, like, I don't even know all the names for them, libertarian or whatever, it should outrage you that everybody else is being thrown off of YouTube. Like, that should enrage you. That should enrage you. And for the first time ever, I saw people after the election on news stations saying it's unfortunate we have a democracy. It's unfortunate that we have a democracy. So yeah, I think it's time to sign up. It just might be time to sign up. Plus, it's really fun to do it for a job. Jesus, analyzing things, can you imagine? We think it's fun. We just think it's watching videos on YouTube. But it's not. It's actually a high-powered analytical job. There's all different kinds. And you're already trained for it. Check it out. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to. Just check it out. It's something to think about. And in the meantime, if you enjoy free speech, then by God, let others enjoy it too. Peace out.